What is going on, everybody? It is Sunday evening, and it is time for the I-71 Playbook Podcast. I'm BB, and with me, as always, is BC.
What up, BB? Happy Sunday night.
Happy Sunday night. I know we've gotten on the roll of doing Sunday mornings, and I think Sunday mornings might be a little bit better because if we record at night, I'm spicy. So
you are caffeinated tonight. Once again, folks, this is gonna be a fun pod. I can promise you. By the way, BB, just a little preview of things that come for the pod.
Look at you doing arts and crafts.
I didn't take recess today. I went to the art room and started working for some stuff for the pod. So
don't eat the glue. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Too late.
Yeah, well, I think we all did it at one point.
Good weekend. Once again, especially in Browns world, we're in the off season, but having that second pick has kept things very interesting. And I know we're going to talk about the combine today.
We are. We're going to talk about it in a little bit. Unfortunately, we got to start off with a little bit of bad news, little sadness. Earlier this week, we lost the longtime owner of the Cleveland Guardians, the Cleveland Indians. Larry Dolan passed away. Age of 90.
He was 96, I think. 95, 96. He was old.
He was up there. He was very old.
He had a good run.
Unfortunately, he did. He had a very good run. Him and his brother are the longest reigning owners of the Cleveland franchise, going back to its inception. So that's kind of an accolade for them. Oh yeah.
I did not know that.
But he stepped away probably about 2016-ish. So his son Paul has been the CEO and the primary control, just kind of managing the day-to-day and things like that, because obviously dad was getting older, getting sick, so need to take someone in. But it's kind of interesting because there's a lot of people who are asking like what this is going to do for the Guardians now with their owner being passed away. And not very many people know this. Back in 2022, a gentleman by the name of David Blitzer bought into a minority partnership with the Guardians with a plan to basically buy control of the club within 6 years. So that would take us to the 2028 season. We're a little under halfway in. So you've had people who are kind of questioning if that is going to be an accelerated track, which is a valid question, I think.
Yeah, I heard. Okay, so we know all the jokes about the Dolans being cheap. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to, have a moment here to talk to Cleveland fan, because I heard some really nasty stuff on the radio this week about this. People making jokes and stuff, and I wouldn't know any of the Dolans from a hole in the wall. I maybe seen a picture of them, every now and then.
Right.
Their ownership has had the most competitive team in Cleveland for the last 20 years. I think they took over Dick Jacobs in 2001. Yeah.
Was it 2001 or was
it was early 2000s. It was
around there. Okay.
They took over, and they have. Yes, they don't sign big free agents. They really haven't. They've taken a couple swings, but they have been in a game. And I want to remind people that, and we talked about this on the pod. Major League Baseball is stacked against mid markets and smaller markets. It just is.
Yeah, it is, unfortunately.
And for the level of success and maintaining success, they have dominated the AL Central in the last 20 years. They have dominated. Minnesota had a little run, Detroit had a little run, but they have dominated the AL Central really actually since the early 90s. They have been the best team in the AL Central, the best organization. And for the Dolans to get the crap they get, And for some of the really kind of sick stuff I heard this week from Cleveland fans, and once again, it's not indicative of the whole fan base, but there are a lot of Guardians/Indians fans who hate the Dolans for whatever reason. They have given you a chance at a World Series almost every year of their ownership. You might not like how they've had to win about it. I've complained sometimes about this. We talked about losing Josh Naylor. The Jimenez trade. We talked about that this offseason, how we didn't like it, but we also understood it given the current financial clasp, Major League Baseball has on smaller market teams. But, the Dolans have been, we sit here, and I know our pod. We'll talk a lot more about, sorry, I'm getting a phone call. A lot more about in the future about the Guardians in the summer and stuff, but we have sat here and made it a weekly thing of destroying the Haslams, and they have earned it. But Dan Gilbert has done everything he could to win a championship, and he's got one. And I'm telling you right now, we're going to talk about the Cavs later. This is the favorite. They are the favorite.
He has two, actually.
Oh, because the Monsters. Is that what you're saying? Okay, my bad. Sorry. Keep me in check Sunday night.
Absolutely. I'll check you into the boards all night long, buddy.
But he got the Cavs, and he has proven as an owner, especially early on, the letter and all that stuff, but he has grown as an owner, and he is willing to spend. The DeAndre Hunter trade, we're going to talk about him a little bit, has been amazing. He's let his GM do some work. He stepped away. The Dolans have done minor miracles with their budget and have put a competitive team on the field almost every season. And I just want to take a moment to talk to those fans, and say, I get why you sometimes get angry with them, but that is also the financial reality of Major League Baseball. And you should be more upset with Major League Baseball than you should with the Guardians, because there are 20 other teams in Major League Baseball in the same financial lot as the Guardians, but they don't win every year.
Right.
So it's not just a Cleveland problem. It is across the markets in Major League Baseball. If you're not LA, you're not Boston, you're not New York, you're not New York. If you're not one of those major markets, you struggle in Major League Baseball to spend money, but yet the Guardians year after year are competitive, year after year are a team that can make a run in the playoffs. And what else can you ask for?
Right. And you and I have had conversations and about griping about the Dolans in their tenure as ownership here in Cleveland. But you made a comment, and I kind of want to touch on it a little bit. You said you couldn't pick the Dolans out of a lineup if you had to.
No.
And why we have so much fuel for the fire against the Haslams is because they have their hands in everything. And when you don't know what you're doing and you're micromanaging, clearly you're gonna drop the ball. No pun intended, because it is dealing with the Browns, and there is a lot of that. But the Dolans are heard, but they're not seen. And that's kind of the way I think it should be with ownership. I mean, yes, you own the team. Yes, it's your name on the bottom line. But you need to be able to hire people in your organization to run your team, to run the team. Let them do what they need to do. And Dan Gilbert is a great example of that. He has definitely grown as an owner, because when he was brought in, he raised a lot of necks, ruffled a lot of feathers with how he came in. And over time, he's definitely grown as an owner. Just stop renaming the damn arena every 5 years.
Yeah.
Please
so
and thank you. Like, that is my gripe for the evening. But I mean, no,
I was right by The Rock. This weekend actually, I was up in Cleveland and I just kind of rolled my eyes. I'm like, I under his ownership, you've had the Quicken Loans Arena, the Rocket Mortgage Treehouse, and now Rocket Field, or Rocket Courts, or whatever.
Rocket Arena.
Rocket Arena. Yeah, it's just like, just let it go. Let it go. You don't need to keep rebranding.
Right. It's
us Cleveland, Dan, as Cleveland fans, we like tradition. If you haven't seen, we don't deal well with change. So just stop changing it on us. Come on, buddy.
Right. So I did actually see an article later in the week from the family that was stating that the Dolan family and the trust will continue to manage the team and the operations until that agreement is satisfied. So in 2028, David Blitzer will have the opportunity to buy majority control. So he's not going to be on an accelerated path to ownership. It's going to kind of be business as usual. And, hopefully.
Yeah, I was just saying, I saw the same thing, that even though David Blitzer is going to take over the team, the plan is going to stay the same. They're not changing it. He's just slowly buying more and more shares till he gets majority after that 6 years, and the Guardians will be under new ownership at that point. But once again, you got to tip your cap to the Dolans, considering once again the financial restraints they've had, and the ability to maintain a competitive, even championship worthy team has been pretty. I mean, they just think about last year's run's the perfect example. I mean, young team, but they hire the right people. The front office has been just great at hiring a staff. They're great at bringing talent up to they do everything right. And the Dolans should be given credit for that, and not some of the really sick crap I heard this week from fans. Talking about the passing of Larry Dolan. So yeah, absolutely.
So from us here at the I-71 podcast, our hearts and condolences go out to the Dolan family. Thank you, Larry, for decades of ownership and
absolutely
putting Cleveland baseball.
Now, speaking of the baseball, the Diamond, spring training is up and running, BB. Is that time of year? We're into March. Oh
my gosh.
Think about how many episodes. We started this pod in November.
We did.
Yeah.
But first, that's because January lasted for 7.5 years. February was about 12.5 minutes. And now we're in March. So, oh boy.
Yeah, it was crazy. So once again, I was downtown Cleveland this weekend, and downtown Cleveland, if you haven't experienced it, folks, it was 24 degrees on my phone, and you're like, it's sunny out, like 24 degrees for a Northeast Ohioan or now a Michigander. It's not terrible. You put a coat on, you put some gloves on, you're good. But 24 degrees with the winds whipping between the buildings, that's a whole different ball game.
That was brutal.
And that was experienced this weekend by yours truly. So I'm ready. I'm ready for the good weather. I'm ready to. I'm ready for spring. But speaking of spring training, I want to remind somebody, as we know, I'm a baseball guy at heart.
You are.
I have a lifetime with the game, from playing to coaching to now I get to work individually with future all-stars, and it's just awesome. Will and Lucas, if you're watching out there, you guys are doing a great job. Proud of you both. But
don't skip leg day.
But I just want to tell everybody, the Guardians as a team are off to a terrible start in spring training, and it does not matter. If there is,
get it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, if there is of the three major sports, and I can't speak on hockey, but NFL, you only get 3 preseason games and you can see stuff. Like we saw the Browns are going to be bad. Yeah. We were in denial, but we saw they were going to be bad very early on. The Cavs, once again, this year, preseason, I can remember watching one of the preseason games that was on free on NBA TV, and I was like, man, they're really whipping the ball around. Maybe this Kenny Atkinson's got something. And here we are, and we'll talk about the Cavs later. Major League Baseball, nothing matters team-wise. If you're watching spring training and you're following spring training, just follow the performance of players. That's the only thing of it. Pitchers are out there trying new things, guys. They're not out there worried about their ERA. They're trying a new pitch. They're trying a new approach. They maybe change a little mechanics in the offseason. They're not going to look great sometimes. They're not going to look dominant. Right. So they are experimenting. Hitters are hitting. That doesn't change. But do not worry about wins and losses in preseason. The Guardians are going to be very good this year. They're going to be competitive. They should win the Central. They're going to be good. That being said, one last point before you go, BB. One person I'm really worried about is, I think he actually made the All-Star team. Maybe he didn't a couple years ago, but he was definitely going to be an ace of this staff is Tristan McKenzie. Tristan didn't play a lot last year because of an injury. He's been dealing with a lot of injuries. He had his spring training debut, and I believe he walked 5 guys in a third of an inning. And and that was kind of the problem last year. In a very little time, he pitched for the Guardians at the major league level, and in spring training, he had no control. He had lost his control. His fastball is gone. So, those are the kinds of things that you can see in spring training. And, I worry for Tristan McKenzie's career. I really do. From my understanding, he's a great kid. Came up very young in the organization, homegrown guy. And you really want him. But, that outing he had the other day was just more of the same that what he was doing last year. And, I worry about him. But that's your spring training guide. Watch individual performances. Do not worry about the team. They're going to be fine. Okay, BB, all yours.
Kind of like, and where I'm at with it though is, I don't care if you don't win a single spring training game. I don't. And here's why. Because there have been seasons, and I know it's comparing 2 different sports, but I mean there are seasons that the Browns won every single one of their preseason games and lost every single one of their regular season games.
Folks, go back to 2017.
If you're gonna lose when nobody gives a shit, okay? Like the sky is not falling. We're fine. Nothing is on fire. The wheels are on. It's okay. Not on this pod, but I mean, we're at about 3 wheels right about now. But that's okay. We're gonna work. But get it out of your system
BB.
now.
Spicy BB.
Right. I told you tonight was spicy. We have spicy BB tonight.
So
get it all out of your system before opening day. And that's fine.
By the way, BB, I want to ask you a question. A friend of mine, once again, Rhonda, if you're listening, thank you for this, for making me aware of this. Right now, FanDuel is a free preview on Amazon Prime. So if you have Amazon Prime, you can watch the Cavs games for free right now. Did you know that?
Really? I did not.
Now, I don't know if this is going to be a permanent move. And boy, that would be awesome if they go to Prime. And you don't have to pay anything else for it. That would be fantastic. But yeah, they are currently on. So if you're trying to find out how to watch Cavs, and we've been saying, Cavs, Guardians, put your stuff, make it accessible.
Right.
Yeah. Right now, FanDuel is on Prime for free. At least it was through Friday's game against the Celtics. So you might want to take a look there and see if it's still there if you want to watch the Cavs.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the Cavs,
go Cavs.
They are absolutely on fire. Like, okay. Admittedly, I am not a basketball girl. I have never been a basketball girl. I will never root against the Cavs, but I don't follow basketball as closely as I follow football or hockey or things like that.
So I want to make, before you go on, I want to behind the curtain here. Back in 2016, when I could not stop about the Cavs playoff run as they were, heading toward their, Cleveland's first title, major sports title, and since 1964. And I would get corrected. I would get corrected because at the same time, the Monsters were rolling toward a title. And, I would say, hey, did you watch the Cavs? And BB would go, hey, did you watch the Monsters? Because I was there.
You watched the Monsters? I was.
So we have been talking Monsters versus Cavs for a long time.
So, yeah, you mentioned the first major sports championship. That 2016, that summer was just wild, and it was just a series of events that it was a great chain reaction. It started off with oh god, I can't even think of it. Stipe.
Oh yeah,
Stipe brings the belt to Cleveland, so that started first.
Won the UFC heavyweight championship. Yeah,
won the UFC heavyweight championship, and then. And this is wild. So he ends up showing up at one of the Monsters playoff games towards the Calder Cup. The then Lake Erie Monsters go on an absolute tear and win the Calder Cup with 1.2 seconds left in overtime at home in front of like 19,000 fans. It was wild. It was crazy. So then that happens. A couple of days later, then Monsters coach Jared Bednar and current NHL All-Star Zach Werenski are center court for the Cavs game. They brought the Calder Cup in. It was a whole big thing. What happened after that? Cavs go on an absolute tear and bring gold back home to Cleveland. Then you've got at the time, they were the Indians when they were going for the World Series that year, weren't they?
Yeah, they were the Indians. Yep.
Okay. So then you got the Indians. And you have two of the most historic drought, World Series teams against each other. And then the rain delay heard around the world. Unfortunately, that's kind of where the luck started to drop off. And then that was the year that the Browns, we were looking at you and you were playing in the sandbox with cat litter. But no, but just to see, just to see how, it all just kind of, it was such a chain reaction, and it was a great time for the city. But yes, the Monsters did it first. So
yeah, I went to the parade, and my championship parade experience was 7 hours of sitting in the hot sun, not seeing anything. Going to the Winking Lizard. By the time it was 3:00 by the time they got to where we were in the mall, trying to watch we left because it was so hot and so miserable. So we went to the Winking Lizard, and as they were doing their celebration, gunshots went off, and they shut down the Winking Lizard. Like, they locked us into the Winking Lizard. It was crazy. We finally got out in Cleveland. Downtown Cleveland was shut, just locked down. There was SWAT everywhere. We saw a SWAT tank. And my day ended on the RTA heading back to Lakewood. Singing publicly with Bruce Drennan. I kid you not.
Oh my God.
That was an experience.
That's amazing.
It's funny. I always had thought, in my head, that Bruce Drennan in real life would be the worst kind of person. I don't know why. That guy could not be there wasn't a more lovely man I've ever met in my life than Bruce Drennan. Just awesome. Just awesome, dude. And yeah, I had a great talk with him, and it ended up being this really cool experience, although we didn't get to see any part of the championship celebration.
No, but you were there.
I was there. I promise I was there.
I was there, but I was also getting paid. So at the time, I was working downtown. I was working in the Huntington building right on Public Square. And it was just an absolute sea of people.
I can remember our correspondence about you trying to get into work that day.
Oh my God. So at the time,
Right?
it was I want to say it was like a 15-minute drive from where my house was to where my office was. And that was with lights. I mean, that was maybe almost 2 hours to try and get to work. And it was nuts. But yeah, so we were all, looking out the windows of the Huntington building and just seeing like just sea of Clevelanders celebrating and loving life that day. It was hot. I do remember it was hot as hell that day. It was horrible.
It was in the 90s and pure sun, and they didn't have enough water and porta potty. They expected a large crowd. They did not expect what they got. Like that, it was just like you said, a sea of humanity. But anyway, we digress. Let's talk about the Cavs in 2025.
2025.
2025.
The last 3 games. I looked this up earlier because like I'm a stats nerd. If you guys haven't figured that out in 14 episodes, surprise, spoiler alert, stats nerd. Their last 3 games, they have scored. They've outscored their opponents 378 to 327. And then Tuesday's game against Orlando was absolutely just disrespectful in the best way possible. I felt bad for them. Like that was an ass-kicking fiesta on hardwood. Like that was painful.
The day with their win, the Cavs are on another 10-game heater. So they have had winning streaks this year of 15, 9, 12, and 10. I mean, just think about that. And Friday night, so I was in the car, so I was listening on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
I turned on the radio in the first quarter.
Okay.
Like I got started a little later. It's like 4 or 5 minutes left in the first quarter. And I hear the score is 25-3 Boston. And I
heard that.
I said that can't be real. That can't be real. No, it was 25-3. So I turned it off. I get the halftime notification on my phone, and they're down by 10. I was like, still a ball game.
Okay.
They cut into that lead. It's only a 10-point game. And so
I was able to play.
I was able to listen to the entire fourth quarter, and just, I mean, that's a back-breaking loss for Boston. Like that is a soul-snatching loss. Like they were home on the famous parquet, and they just gave up. They were up. I mean, Jason Tatum almost had a triple-double in the first half with 30 points.
Yeah.
And they still lost. I just this team is so good. This team is absolutely good. And tonight, once again, they were I think down 14 at the half, and they forced overtime. And they came back and beat a good Portland team. Like it's not like Portland's gonna be a playoff team in the West. And DeAndre Hunter, since he has been a Cav, they have not lost. Talk about the perfect trade. I mean, just the absolute perfect trade. And he had 32 tonight off the bench. Like pretty sure he didn't start tonight. He hasn't started yet, but 32. He had 32 regardless. Guy's been incredible. The team is continuing to roll. And ladies and gentlemen, get excited. This could be another championship for Cleveland.
Listen, Linda, if I'm excited about Cavs basketball, I think everybody needs to be excited about Cavs basketball. But no, talking about Friday night's game, I got messages from my cousin who lives out in Colorado, and him and I talk sports all the time. And then my person actually made a comment about it too, that they were down 25-3. And I was just like, ooh, BC's going to be mad on Sunday. And then I was, I don't know what I was doing Friday night, but I get a text message again later from my cousin, and he's like, "Oh my God, they pulled it out!" And I was just like, "Huh?" So then, I pull up the box score, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, "Oh, 25-3. Nope. Okay. Y'all showed up to work today.
I'm not joking. There was a lot of high-fiving and go Cavs going through downtown Cleveland on Friday. You know, like the city's ready. The city's ready for this. Like I said, and the greatest thing about this, and you know, had they lost, I'm not getting overly worked up. Wins or losses in the regular season,
right?
But this is a great basketball team. I've said before, they play a beautiful brand of basketball. That ball moves so fast. They get open shots all the time. Historically, they are one of the best offensive teams ever to play. Their defense, when they need to lock down, they lock down. Ask Boston Friday night when this defense needs to lock down. Evan Mobley might be Defensive Player of the Year. And, you know, Ty Jerome might be your sixth man of the year. I still think Donovan Mitchell should get looks for MVP. He probably won't, but he should. And once again, we've talked about Donovan Mitchell. It's not so much what he's doing, it's what he's not doing. And that is taking over games, allowing his teammates to, and he just steps up when he needs to, like Friday night. You know, he dropped 40 on Friday. Just like that. Like, I mean, he's that good. Like, he has to turn it on. He turns it on, keeps him in the game. They are a lot of fun. They're a bunch of good dudes. They're coached by a great coach. You know, kudos to the Cavs organization putting this team together. Kobe Altman deserves all the praise. He needs to be the executive of the year after this regular season. And, you know, holy crap, this is a good team. This is fun. That's
kind of what I'm like. I like to see, like, this is just, it's a great squad that's clicking together. And it's all for the team. It's not, you know, back in 2016, it was, you know, we get the hierarchy of players, essentially. I mean, let's call it how it is. Like, it is what it is. But these guys, you know, it's not about the Sports Center reel, or it's not about, you know, the spotlight being on them. It's about winning the basketball game and doing what you need to do, helping out your teammate when you need it. And that's great. It does wonderful things for pro sports when the guys can click together. And they're having fun out there. They also look like they're having a blast. The highlights that I've seen, like, they're having fun. So, you know, I guess do what you love and you never work a day in your life.
You know, just one thing, and I know once again, we still, by the way, their over under this year was 48.5. They've already surpassed that, and we just got the March. We still got a month and a half of basketball before the playoffs, which is crazy. So if you bet Cavs plus 48.5, hey, congratulations, you won some money. But one thing that, you know, I want people to realize, if this team does go on and they are able to win a championship, we are talking historically one of the greatest basketball teams ever to play. That's how good they have been this year. So, like,
I believe
statistically, offensive efficiency, they're shooting at historic levels. So if they are able to pull this off and win a championship, you are now putting them in the upper echelon of championship teams ever in the NBA. And that's, I mean, there's some good teams in there, including the 2016 Cavs and the last, you know, that dynasty of Golden State. You know, you put these guys right up there. So, you know, just watch Cavs, cheer them on, enjoy these guys. They are a great representation of the city and of the game of basketball. They really are.
Absolutely.
Now let's talk about some more depressing stuff.
I was like, what else is going on in the sports world this week?
So, you know, Scouting Combine.
A bunch of guys running around in their underwear? Like,
a bunch of guys running around in their underwear. How you doing? As I told you, the Scouting Combine would tell us pretty much nothing. The Scouting Combine has become a time for the top picks not to do anything except for interview, and for the, you know, other guys trying to improve their draft stock, and for guys to be unfairly criticized. Will Howard, are you listening? I don't know if you heard about Will Howard, but, you know, he didn't have the most impressive. I did hear
something about well, hold on. You go and then I'll tell you what I heard. So,
tip of the cap to Shedeur Sanders for going after everybody who was hating on Will Howard. I don't know if you saw Shedor's tweet, but he said it's really difficult. He's like, you wonder why some of us don't throw. Will Howard went out there throwing to receivers he's never thrown to, and your guys are killing him. You don't know how hard that is. And so, you know, it's good to see Shedeur come out to his defense.
For Shedeur.
I appreciate that. I don't care what anybody says. Will Howard he's going to be a good quarterback. He's going to be an NFL starter.
He is.
Like the more and more, and it's funny, just kind of going off on a tangent on Will Howard, because here at the pod we love Will Howard.
We do.
I keep watching film breakdowns of quarterback of positional play. Like, I've been watching a ton of the draft because once again the Browns have the number 2 pick.
Right.
Every single film breakdown of Will Howard is about how great he is, and then they go, yeah, he's probably a day 2, maybe day 3 pick. Make it make sense, BB. It doesn't make sense. He anticipates. He doesn't get rattled.
We had that conversation the entire season with him.
He's super accurate. He's got a decent arm. He doesn't have the strongest arm, but he's got a decent arm. He's almost impossible to take down in the pocket. Tell me why.
No, the turf does that, though.
He does fall victim to the turf monster every now and then. But
he does.
I need somebody to explain to me why I'm watching people who are really, really good at this stuff tell me how great he is, and then in the next breath go, yeah, he'll probably be, 3rd round pick. Oh, he's going to be a good pro quarterback. Nobody should take him until pick 100. What are we doing?
Right. And we had this conversation on previous pods. We've had this conversation off pod, and it was all through Ohio State's season. And the fact that, as the season went on, as the playoffs went on, there were a couple of quarterback names that were coming up for the draft and the combine. Shedeur Sanders is number 1, Cam Ward, Jalen Milroe. And there was no talk about Will Howard. And you're right. He's not, the next messiah of rookie quarterbacks. He's not, but I mean, the kid's accurate. The kid, and if he's got the right weapons, clearly he can make some stuff happen.
I asked this. Somebody show me better film. This college football season than Will Howard at quarterback. Somebody do it. If you could do it, cool. Tell me why he's better. But Will Howard, once again, is the most disrespected guy in this draft this year. And I honestly, no matter where he ends up, Cleveland, wherever, I'm a fan of the kid, and I hope he tears it up in the NFL. I really do.
I do too. So I heard a little tidbit about Will Howard that did not have to do with his pro day excursion, which I did hear it was a little rough. Apparently he got into Indianapolis a little late, and someone was, walking out of Lucas Oil Stadium and saw a kid throwing a football over a parking structure, and someone on the other side was catching it at 11 o'clock at night. And it was Will Howard. He's out there practicing, chucking bombs, putting the work in at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I just don't know how you don't like this kid. I don't understand how people criticize him.
But he's a day 2 or a day 3 pick. No.
Once again, we talked about this last week or 2 weeks ago. I went through the past couple years draft grades, and last year was the perfect example. Only 3 people had first round draft grades last year, and it was the first 3 quarterbacks taken: Caleb Williams, Jane Daniels, and Drake May. But Bo Nix did not, JJ McCarthy did not, Michael Penix did not, and yet they were top 12 picks. So once again, go get your quarterback. And if you have, I don't care who the Browns are, and we're going to talk about some takeaways from it, but get your quarterback, guys. Get your quarterback. Trust me, there are going to be 2 or 3 really good to great starters in this draft class at quarterback. It is not this barren wasteland of quarterback play that everybody's making it out to be. We know that. I don't know why that's the narrative. There are good quarterbacks in this draft. Andrew Berry, go find one.
There are.
Go find one, Andrew. Your job depends on it.
And you and I've said this for, I think, as long as you and I have known each other, and I've said it for even longer than that. Drafting position doesn't necessarily equate to success in the NFL. With our track record of #1 overall draft picks. I think that is a testament to it doesn't matter to where you are drafted. And also a perfect example of this, and if you love him or you hate him, is Tom Brady. Tom Brady wasn't, he wasn't the first overall pick. He wasn't even a round 1 pick. He was like pick, 127 or something like that. Like he was a later round pick.
Yeah.
And he didn't start for New England. He didn't. He was a rookie. He, sat behind Drew Bledsoe.
Yep.
And Bledsoe goes down with that horrific hit and that injury, and then here comes this kid out of Michigan that nobody even knows if he's got an arm or not, because those were the Lloyd Carr years where we didn't throw the ball. They didn't throw the ball at all. So, and then, Tom Brady goes on to be one of the most touted names in all of, football quarterbacks.
Let me give you an example. And I brought this name up last week or the week before, but you'll hear 2022 as being one of the worst. That's where Kenny Pickett was taken by Pittsburgh. He was the only first round quarterback, and they were like, it was the worst one ever.
It's always going to be catching strays.
Let me ask you, off the record, I'd ask every GM, okay, would you take the last guy who was drafted in that draft to be your quarterback, and would you take him in the first round if you knew what he was going to be? And that was Brock Purdy.
Right?
Absolutely, you would have. So once again, it just goes to show there is going to be a great starter, a Pro Bowler, at some point in his career come out of this draft class. And I just can't. I can't take this. Like, there's no good quarterbacks beyond Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, and they're both gonna. I think they're both gonna be good, but Jackson Dart's gonna be good. I'm not counting Jalen Miller out just because once again he's an athletic freak. And I think Will Howard is going to be a good quarterback. I just do. So, once again, the combine really didn't do anything to sway anybody's opinion. It was nice to finally hear from Cam Ward. The more I hear from that kid, the more I like him. And, I've been on the Cam Ward train at number 2 this whole time. And I got to hear him speak this week. And and I guess what we're hearing from behind the scenes, he was super intelligent behind the scenes in his team meetings. Like, people were blown away how good he was on the board, how well he processes. Like I say, he's got that Mahomes and Deshaun Watson, when Deshaun Watson was not a shell of himself. He's got a little bit of that kind of play in him. He can make throws from different angles, off schedule, on schedule. I'm all for I want the Browns to take him. I want the Browns to roll with this kid. The more I hear, the more I'm down with Cam Ward. My fear is now that Tennessee is going to trade that pick to somebody who wants Cam Ward, and the Browns are going to miss out. But here's another thing too. Like, the more I watch on Shedeur Sanders, the more I hear he's better than anything we've had in the last couple of years since Baker.
That is accurate.
Cam Ward's better than anything we've had. They're only can present improvement at the quarterback room, and they're going to get it. I just saw a report that the Browns are interested in Daniel Jones, and of course Kirk Cousins has been related. Pulled in there. I see Matthew Stafford's going to be off. The Matthew Stafford pipe dream is now over because he's going to go back to LA.
Thank God.
And so,
thank you, football Jesus.
So the Browns are not going to spend $50 more million on a quarterback. But yeah, so it's a silly season right now. We didn't really learn anything. I did see that Deebo Samuel got traded today. He's going to Washington.
See that too. Yeah.
But when it comes to the Browns, San
Francisco actually pulled the trigger on it.
When it comes to the Browns, the one thing we heard from numerous, Adam Schefter kind of said it first, and you kept hearing it. The buzz around there are the Browns are definitely going to be probably the first team, if Tennessee doesn't trade their pick, the first team to take a quarterback. They are taking a quarterback at 2. So now I tend to believe that. I've been saying that from day. I've been saying that from day one. You got to go quarterback.
Yeah.
You have an an opportunity to get a quarterback at 2. You got to go. You got to do it. It's the quickest way to change a franchise. Ask Washington last year. The Commanders, went to the NFC Championship with a rookie. Jaden Daniels he's a stud. And so, you roll your dice there. You try to get that. You try because you don't know who. Last year, Carson Beck didn't come out, and everybody said, "Oh, he's going to be the first pick of the draft." Carson Beck's going back to college for another year because he had such a rough year. Yeah. And he's not even going to be at Georgia. Like, he's transferred, he's going to a different school, and he's not even in the draft. So we have no idea how good the class is going to be next year. You don't know. What you do know is you got data and film on these kids right now. Cleveland has to pick one. Cleveland has to get a quarterback, and they got to roll with them. Because once again, Andrew Berry, your job depends on it. Got to make it happen.
It's going to be a put up or shut up year for Andrew Berry. I really think it is. Not just in the eyes of the fans. I think, throughout the upper echelon of Berea. But so what I would actually love to see is, I would still like to see Will Howard. I mean, again, the kid he's great on the field. He's great off the field. But also, obviously, you're going to need to bring in a veteran, someone who's going to be able to mentor him, who can, kind of help him out. Probably start, because as we well know with Cleveland Browns football, that when you roll with a rookie, doesn't always end up in the best of situations for us, at least. So what I would actually like to see, the reuniting of a couple of former Buckeyes. Take a little ride with me, okay? So we draft Will Howard at 2.
I'm on board. Let's do this.
So they're looking at free agents, obviously, as a veteran QB to bring in to possibly start, to help. In theory, let's just say, Andrew Berry is like, that kid out of Ohio State. Let's pull the trigger on him. Let's put him in the orange and brown. Let's do it. So they do that. Now you're looking at the free agency market. Justin Fields. Now, before you pick your jaw up off the floor, because you know how I felt about Justin Fields in college, I think he's kind of gotten a little bit of a rough start, and kind of an unfair start. In Chicago, he really didn't have any kind of support, any kind of...
Absolutely not.
He had nobody really to throw to. He had nobody to block for him. Then he is... Did he sign with Pittsburgh, or was he traded? I don't remember.
Pittsburgh...
I think they signed him, actually.
I'm pretty sure they signed him.
I think so. But then they also brought in, Russell Wilson. And it was who's going to start in Pittsburgh and this, that, and the other. And they ended up rolling with Wilson for the majority of the season. And Justin didn't get a whole hell of a lot of playing time. So again, he's also kind of getting a little bit shafted there too. He's getting kind of the DTR treatment a little bit, because DTR is another great kid. I hope he catches on somewhere. I don't think it will be in Cleveland, unfortunately, but he really has gotten a raw deal here in Cleveland too. I mean,
and
you're drafted, and you have. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying. I mean, just like DTR is not even on Justin Fields' level when it comes to actual quarterback ability either. Like, Justin Fields was a couple plays away from a national championship at Ohio State. Like, we're talking. Yeah. We're talking like he has top tier quarterback. He's a former first round pick. Like, there's something there. He just hasn't had the coaching to pull it out of him yet. I don't think he's washed. I hear a lot of people talk about him being washed. I don't think he's washed.
Well, see, and that's where I'm
wholeheartedly.
That's where we're riding.
Agree with you.
Is the fact that I really think in Stefanski's offense, because he's taken the offense back, he's taken the play calling back, which is both a good and a bad thing depending on the game and the situation. But Justin still he's got something that the AFC North is kind of lacking. And what I mean, we've got one team that has a quarterback that still has legs on him, and that's Baltimore with Lamar Jackson. When he's not running for the sidelines to, hit the poop cart.
Hey, by the way, he still won that game. He still beat Baker in that game.
That's never gonna not be funny.
He got done wiping and he came back out and won the game. So,
yeah, he wiped his ass and then he wiped us. So that was thanks, Lamar. I hope you washed your hands. I really do.
Hand sanitizer.
But
it's good for all of us.
But Justin Fields has legs. Like we saw it a lot when he was with Ohio State. Clearly, he can read the field. He can watch plays develop. We've seen it. He still has it. It's like riding a bike. It doesn't go anywhere. So that mobility could actually open up some lanes that our running backs can, kind of step into their job, shine a little bit. And I think it could set up, I really think that Stefanski's offense would be a great fit for him, truthfully. So then, kind of to go a little tangent from the draft for a minute, also this week in sports, Mr. Miles, our vocal child that he is, him and his team have basically slammed the door on any kind of talks with Cleveland. So there is going to be no extension. So he's out the door. So now it's going to be a matter of what do we get for him, and now use that draft capital to potentially build up Justin Fields or whatever rookie quarterback. If it's Will Howard, if it's Cam Ward, if it's Shador, whoever it is, build up that rookie quarterback and set them up for success.
So we got to talk about that because I might disagree with you on this.
Ooh, okay.
And let me tell you why. I love to play detective, and I like to read between the lines.
Okay.
We discussed Miles' representation last week as Clutch Sports, which is LeBron's agency.
Mm-hmm.
And they are super, super careful with their wording of things. They always have been. Everything for them is messaging, is public relations, and they are as good as anybody at it. They are really good at this. And I want you to listen, you can go back and listen to Miles' words on this and his team's words, his camp's words. Miles said he would not sign an extension, which would be if he signs an extension, it would be an extension of his current contract.
Correct.
They can rip up that current contract with a new deal with Miles with a no trade clause, with Miles being able to get out after 2 years, which is currently where he's at right now, without being franchise tagged. Miles right now has zero leverage. I don't care what the national he has zero leverage. It hurts the Browns to trade him, not just because you're trading Myles Garrett, but financially it's a non-starter. So I believe Andrew Berry when he says we're not trading him. And Miles is not going to sit away a year from the game because he loses another year of free agency that way. It's one more because that contract year don't count if you don't play. If you voluntarily do not play, that does not count. So Miles is up against it. So I really have been thinking about this, what the end game here is.
Okay.
And when he said, I'm not interested in an extension, he didn't say I'm not interested in a new contract. And he could work a new contract that's very favorable if the Browns, and I was thinking, what is his end game? Because it does not behoove the Browns to trade him. It's a bad move for the Browns to trade him. It is. So I just wonder, and I could be completely wrong, and this is just speculation, I just wonder if he's just angling for a new contract to tear this current one up, to give him an out in a year or two, where the Browns won't be destroyed financially. He could get traded even after next year. He could say, "I'm okay. You trade me now." I just tend to believe, despite that, and despite the uproar that it caused, I think Miles is going to play for the Browns next year.
I can see it.
I just, like I said, I sit back here and think of all the athletes that are represented by clubs, particularly LeBron, and how careful they are with messaging and how they specifically word things. And once again, he did not say, I'm not going to play for the Browns again. He did not say, I'm not going to sign a new contract. He said, I'm not signing an extension, which would be the current contract with more money. So,
yeah. And he's already come out and said that it's not about the money.
Yeah. So I wonder if because these guys, they know, they're not dumb. They know that it's going to be near impossible for the Browns to financially move him. Not for another team. They're going to get They're going to get a ton of draft capital. I bet it would not surprise me if they've been offered 3 first-round picks. It would not surprise me, especially from we hear the Eagles are in, we hear Detroit's in, and their first-round picks are basically second-round picks.
I think the better question is who's not in, because he made that comment, drafts the bombshell before the Super Bowl, and there are 31 teams that are picking up the phone and going, hey, hi, buddy.
And that's another thing, too. The Browns could draft him to another crappy team. I mean, they could trade him to another crappy team.
Right.
He has no say. He doesn't have a no trade. He doesn't have any leverage. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's something fishy about this. And then when I heard him say, I will not sign an extension, I'm like, but he didn't say he wouldn't sign a contract. And so it's kind of...
That's fair. Okay.
I just kind of wonder if, there's something else going on here. And then I'm like, he might be playing for the Browns next year. He might be. Because there's just, once again, he has no leverage. The Browns do not have to move. The Browns do not have to move him, and he has to play. And he's not going to go there and lay a stinker. He's not going to go out there and not play hard. First of all, that's not how he's wired. Second of all, it hurts him.
Right.
And I like I said, it would not surprise me before the draft that Myles Garrett has a new contract with the Cleveland Browns. It just would not surprise me. Just saying, just throwing it out there in the ether.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me either. And I can get there where you're going. I see it, and I'm picking up what you're putting down here. But I just the fact that he has been so public with this, and we've talked about this, right, wrong, or indifferent. It's been very public, and for him to not have any leverage, and he really doesn't, because you've got 2 years left. Yeah, you've got 2 years left on the current contract. And then, again, if the Browns really want to be dicks about it, they can franchise tag twice.
Yeah.
So that's literally the next 4 years for you.
They got 4 years control over him.
And at that point, he'll be 33. And as a defensive edge, yeah, in football years, you're going out to pasture at early 30s. So if they really want to fight fire with fire here, they can. They don't want to, but they can, because Myles has no leverage, and they don't want it to be that ugly, and they don't. Nobody wants it that way. I don't think. And deep down, I don't think Myles does either.
I told you my thoughts on Myles. Myles is not going to like being vilified. He's not going to do well with it. He has no idea what's coming. He
got a taste of it earlier this season, and he did not like it.
Nope.
When he spoke out about the fans, because the fans are going to, first of all, like, again, and I've said this multiple times. I have said this for the entirety of being a Cleveland Browns football fan, which I'm not going to tell you exactly how long that is, but it's a while.
Not quite as long as me, but it's still a while.
Not quite as long as you, but it's a fair number of years. Oh God, where were we even going? I don't even know. But
just talk about Myles and the fans, and the reaction.
But Cleveland fan base is one of the most loyal fan bases across the board. And they have stuck by this team through things that have happened in Cleveland Browns history that can only be described with 2 words of the drive, the fumble, The Move, Red Right 88, 1-31, and you still have diehard Cleveland fans who will never give up on that franchise, who will be there. No, yeah, I mean, I won't give up on them, but damn it, it is getting a lot harder to, you know, to love on you guys and to keep that support going. It's an abusive relationship, it's literally, it is. But this season, the fans are now starting to get fed up, rightfully so. I mean, the product has been declining. It's a shit show off the field. It's a shit show on the field. It's horrible. And so the fans are finally vocalizing that. And then Miles spoke out against it and got his first taste of the other side of Cleveland fans. And I don't think I don't think he liked it at all.
Well, I think it was disappointing that Miles did not understand. By the way, the reaction for Deshaun Watson was not, people weren't cheering him getting hurt. People were cheering him being done with Deshaun Watson. They knew.
Yes.
We all knew.
Yes.
We said immediately he would never play again for the Cleveland Browns. It just came out that the Browns have already told his camp that he will never play for him again. I mean, I just saw that today.
Really?
Yeah. It was on Bleacher Report, Yahoo, or AOL. One of those sports sites said that the Browns have made it clear that Deshaun Watson is not part of their future. And we said that from the injury. Like, we knew that it was over. And once again, it wasn't. First of all, it was a small minority of fans. It wasn't everybody. Right. Second of all, it was a sense of relief that nightmare scenario was probably over.
Yes.
I don't. Now, were there some sickos out there probably cheering that this guy just blew his Achilles? Probably. I will tell you, my thought was I had a sigh of relief, and I hate that. Yeah. I did not wish that guy to get hurt. No. That's not in my mentality. I don't wish any athlete to get hurt, despite what I think of him personally. And I'm no fan of Deshaun Watson personally. But I will also say, and we talked about it after the game, I said he's done. He's never going to play again. And at least for the Browns, his career for the Browns is over. And I feel better about that because he's been nothing but a stain on the organization. He has divided the fan base. He has put us against each other. It just, and so
he divided the locker room.
Yeah, and so when Miles came out and kind of went at the fans, it was kind of tone deaf, and he heard it. Like, he learned real quick. Like, dude, no, that's not. That's not how you approach it. You need to understand that what the Cleveland Browns did. And so once again, his problem should be the front office. And it is. It should not have been with the fans at that point. But what the Browns did when they signed Deshaun Watson was do irreparable harm for a lot of its fan base.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of a believer in karma. And she is a fickle bitch. And she came back to bite them. And the Browns are suffering for it now. Mm-hmm. And just think about the series of events. You dump Baker because you can't make it work with Baker. I still wish I was a fly on the wall that season he was hurt and why he was put out there to play. I have no idea why that happened. Baker goes on. He's now a Pro Bowl quarterback, two-time Pro Bowler now for Tampa Bay. Last 2 years in the playoffs. And the Browns have seen the historically worst quarterback season maybe in NFL history this past year. And it is what it is. But Miles' tone deafness and not being, you got to read the room. And for a guy who has spent his entire professional career in Cleveland, for a guy who now is a minority owner of the Cavaliers, you need to know the fan base by now. He should know the fan base. So when he came out and criticized the fans on that, dude, bad move, because once again, it was not everybody. Nope. It was not everybody.
It wasn't.
And those people, that did, like I said, I empathize with them. I understand why they were excited. They were happy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was they were happy with the injury, but they just knew that was over. They didn't have to deal with that guy anymore. I get it. Miles did not, though. So I don't know. But like I said,
We
I don't know
shall
what's going to
see.
happen. I don't know what's going to happen with this, but I just thought it was very peculiar on the wording that he used, and couple that with the fact that there is no reason why the Browns should trade him. There's just no reason.
No.
Like, they'd be better off just, I understand you're going to get a couple draft picks, but you're also going to be you're already dangerously playing with the cap. This would kill you in the cap.
Mm-hmm.
They plan for every contingency, but they never plan for Myles Garrett. As they kept extending, they kept redoing his contract and adding void years because they expected him to be here his whole career. Well, he throws a wrench into that. That screws up their planning, their financial planning.
Right. Right.
So yeah, I would not be surprised if 95 is on the field for the Browns next year. It would, like, at this point, it wouldn't surprise me.
Well, we shall see. I mean,
We shall see.
Shall see indeed.
So, BB, do you have anything else on the Browns? Because I need to ask you. I got a question for you.
You do?
Are we done with the Browns for this week?
We're done with the Browns for this week, at least.
So, BB, I received some photographic evidence this weekend of a certain someone who found hobby horsing equipment, a stuffed horse head on a stick. And that individual, you can tell by her guilty, blushing laugh right there, is Miss BB. BB, how's your hobby horse training going?
So, yes, I was out on Saturday.
If we could get that on the, if you could get that spliced into the pod, we have to show that picture. It's fantastic.
If I can, it may be, stick around. There may be a Marvel style end scene if I can technologically figure out how to do it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. You sent me that picture. Can I set the stage? BB was out thrifting this weekend, and she found a hobby horse, and there is a picture of BB with the hobby horse getting ready to start her training, and I laughed for at least 15 minutes straight. There were people looking at me laughing as I was laughing at my phone. Like, what is, like, they were looking at me like I was crazy because I was laughing so hard at my phone in public.
So what happened was, I have in my basement photography studio, we have a hobby horse. Actually, I was reminded of this, but Saturday, to set the stage, what led up to the photo, is my person and I went down to Lansing to meet with our business partner and have a meeting and have lunch, and then we ended up hitting some thrift stores and just having a lovely Saturday before I came home for hockey. And so if you've ever been thrifting, you never know what you're going to find. And we happened to be walking over by the children's section because our friend is a new grandma. So we were looking at some Bambian clothes and things like that. And sure enough, sitting across a little Tykes vanity is this hobby horse that has definitely seen better days. Like, I don't know if it's going to the Splinter Factory or what, but it has definitely seen some better days.
It was a little beat up. It was a little beat up.
I mean, but then again, lately, who isn't beat up? So, I can't really judge. But so I see it, and then of course I now have to explain why I am cackling in the middle of a thrift store in Lansing. So I do. And then I look at my person because he.
You are welcome, by the way. You are welcome.
Yeah. Okay. he encourages my shenanigans when we're out in public.
He's good.
He's
He's a
usually
good
the
man.
instigator.
He's a good man.
He's a fabulous man. He puts up with my shit daily. So, pray for him, please, and thank you. But so I'm like, you got to take a picture of it. I got to send this to BC. Sure enough, and here we are. And then, so as I'm finishing up my impromptu photo shoot, there are people that are walking past me, like up the main aisle, and see me gallivanting up and down this little aisle with a hobby horse, and are now looking at me like I have sprouted a second head and 14 more eyeballs. So my training got kind of off to a rocky start.
So not only did you take the picture, you actually went in full-blown training mode. Did you have like the Rocky montage in the back of your head as you were getting ready to do your dressage?
If I would have thought about it, if I would have absolutely thought about it, I would have pulled out my phone and put "Gonna Fly Now" from Rocky. I'd have put my phone in my back pocket. I'd have given everybody a show. Right.
I'm gonna stop right there so we don't get copyrighted. But
anyway. But no, I started a little bit of training there.
I'm still proud of you. I'm still proud of you.
So also that hobby horse did not come home with us, unfortunately.
So you have one in the basement, though, right? You already got one.
We do have one. We do have one in the studio. I don't know where it is right now, but we have one. So yeah, that was Friday, or that was Saturday, and then I got to come back home and watch one hell of a hockey game with the Stadium Series. That was really, really neat. I know you didn't watch.
I did not. I need to get better at my hockey. I do. There's no doubt. I love the game live. I honestly love watching hockey live. I have trouble getting into it on TV for whatever reason.
And you know what? That's fair. That's absolutely fair. But they really knocked it out of the park. I mean, with what they did, the city of Columbus was just great. The Buckeye and Blue Jacket Nation showed up and showed out for sure, and it felt a little weird because it was, obviously the Columbus Blue Jackets were playing the Detroit Red Wings, which was capping off 2 back-to-back games of both Ohio State and Michigan's men's hockey teams going against each other. So it was literally the game on ice. And so the Red Wings are in white sweaters with red lettering and accents, obviously. Classic clean look. The Blue Jackets, blue sweaters, actually those look really sharp. If you get a chance, take a look at both of them. Really clean, really great looking sweaters. But the main thing is blue. So they're playing at Buckeye Stadium, and they even incorporated the Buckeye leaves like around the rink. They did the traditional gray with the crimson, or the silver and the crimson. Scarlet, crimson.
Scarlet, come on.
Oh, that was bad.
I'm from Alliance, Ohio, home of the Scarlet Carnation, in which our state colors come from and our state flower comes from. So when you say crimson, you insult my hometown, Miss BB.
All right, well.
Go Aviators.
So the classic, the scarlet and gray with the stripe, right down the center line. It was great. But what I really, really liked was, and we've mentioned this before, and if you're not a fan of hockey and you're not aware, unfortunately this summer we lost a really great asset in Johnny Gaudreau, who was nicknamed Johnny Hockey, and his brother Matthew, unfortunately, were taken from us way too soon. But the family of the Goudreaus actually led the Blue Jackets in to Ohio Stadium, and they made all sorts of touches to make sure that Johnny was still included in the game. It was really great to see. The first intermission, they had a little bit of it was almost like a halftime show almost. Like, it wasn't quite Kendrick. We didn't bring in Kendrick, but they did bring in Ohio's own 21 Pilots and put on one hell of a show.
Columbus's own.
You'll appreciate this. You'll appreciate this. Before, they had all sorts of like activities and things like that before the Stadium Series. OAR played.
My favorite band.
Right?
Once again,
so it was just
Ohio State legends.
Yeah.
That's where they got their start in high school, but they all went to Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
Best bar band ever.
It was a lot. It was a lot of fun to see. The game itself was pretty great. Ended on a little bit of controversy depending on which team you rooted for. Your Columbus Blue Jackets were victorious, 5-3. Go Jackets, indeed. But you want to talk about how cold it was on Saturday and the wind. Now, you've been in Ohio Stadium before.
Quite a few times.
That place is a wind tunnel. Like, it is bad. So it was.
And usually before this year, Buckeye games are over before the winter really hits and sets in. You might get a cold game every now, but you're talking 30s, maybe 20s. But when the wind, especially on a rainy day, when the wind gets in there, it's nasty.
It's brutal.
It's just the way that stadium's set up is just it's rough.
And they as the third period, as the game was going on, it was looking like may go into overtime, make it bonus hockey. But it was also getting to temperature-wise where they were thinking where they may have to postpone the rest of the game.
Oh, wow.
Because the ice would actually be too brittle to skate on because of the temps were they dropped so bad. But there was a bit of a controversial call, which the Jackets were able to capitalize on and take it up 4-3. And then with about a minute and a half left, we scored an empty netter. So that sealed the deal. And their very first outdoor game in franchise history in their backyard. The cannon was very, very explosive on Saturday night, and they brought home a victory. So now they are they were neck and neck going into Saturday's game with Detroit for a wild card spot, and we successfully pulled away. We played in Detroit on Thursday night, and we actually won 5-2. And at our house now, 5-3. So congratulations to the Blue Jackets. Again, they're actually another team where it's like the Cavs, where they're clicking, they're firing on all cylinders. The guys are really gelling together, and they're taking, unfortunately, a really tragic event that they had to experience together publicly, and they're using it to fuel. And there's been a bunch of guys that have come out and said all out through the season that we're trying to play like Johnny did on the ice. Play for the love of the game and just leave it all out there. And it's showing. It really is. So I'm excited to see how the rest of the season is going to shape out for them. And I really would love to see them go on another playoff run and hopefully make it to number 2 of getting to the second round, because historically the Blue Jackets, they are a first round team, and then it is no bueno. So I'd like to see them break that curse too, but we shall see.
Everything you just explained, once again, is why we love sports. It really is.
Absolutely.
Why sports are great. Like, when you talk to the uninitiated, and they, I have friends in my life that don't understand, why I'm such a fanatic, and how I can spend so much money and so much time and invest it in my teams. It's stories like that. It's just great. it's just great. And kudos to the Blue Jackets. Kudos to Ohio State for putting that on. And one thing I wanted to ask you before we wrap up here, you had Jackets fans in blue,
right?
You had Wings fans in red. Then you had to switch, and then you had Ohio State fans in scarlet, and you had Michigan fans in blue. That had to be a little confusing.
It was extremely confusing. So, so I'm blessed to have a bonus kid, and through having her in my life, she is now quite a little hockey fiend herself. Also an Ohio State fan, so
that a girl.
You're actually, she's kind of neutral. She's kind of neutral because she's still, obviously her dad, is a Michigan fan, and she grew up being a Michigan fan, so that's what she do. Which now she's excited for.
Brainwash her. It's fine. Bring her to.
I'm working on it.
Bring her to the light side.
She's become quite a hockey fan. So she was watching the game with us on Saturday, and she's like, "This is really confusing for me." I go, "What do you mean? You've been doing really good with hockey, like, And she asks questions, and it's fine. And she's like, "No." She's like, "Usually, when we're watching the game, especially at the Buckeyes Stadium, I'm rooting for the team in red, and now I'm seeing like all the blue in the stands, and I'm like, oh no, actually that's fair because
great minds.
So yeah, she's like, this is very confusing for me. I go, trust me, I get it. I mean, when they did the first crowd shot and I see not a whole lot of red, I was like, what the hell? And I was like, oh wait a minute, no. We don't want to see that in the stands this time. No. But no, it was a good time. And it was actually, so I have a backup team. The Wings are actually my backup team, and they have been for a number of years, one of the original 6 teams. So it was a lot like watching the baseball playoffs last year, where since I've been up here, and because my person is he's a baseball fan. That's what he's all about. Kind of, root for the Tigers just a little bit when they're not playing the Guardians. So yeah, the playoffs for me was really interesting in my living room, and it was very interesting in my living room Saturday night because I was just like, when anything would happen, I'm like, yes, damn it, So it's just,
hey, just promise me, you won't get one of those house divided flags.
Absolutely not. We joked about it.
Yeah, don't do that.
We joked about it, and I said absolutely not. Like, no. Like, it's no. I'm still okay. So you're gonna laugh at me. So obviously, as you guys have seen throughout the pod, I have an unhealthy obsession with sports shirts that are local Cleveland based. And I do have Ohio State gear, obviously. I am not super brave enough to actually wear it outside of my house just yet because of where I live, because I don't have bail money. I do not look good in orange. I don't want to catch bracelets, because trust and believe, like, my facial expressions will do it. My words will finish the job, but these hands are rated E for everybody. So, so that is why.
Spicy BB.
Spicy BB. I told you at the beginning of the show that I am spicy today. I've been spicy all day long. I have no idea why.
So at the bottom here where I'm pointing, I want to say next week, Spicy BB. Holy crap. That's awesome.
But no, I mean, I'm just, yeah. I have no problem dropping the gloves. Like, it's fine. I've grown up watching hockey. Hockey fights are amazing. I am a big fan of the enforcer position. I also just don't have bail money. So, if you are so inclined out there in podcast land as you're watching this, like and subscribe for my bail fund to possibly bail BB out of local law enforcement's clutches, because
here's the thing, though. If you're throwing hands with somebody in maize and blue, I guarantee you we'll get that bail raised for you real quick. Just keep that in mind. We got you. Buckeye Nation's got your back, BB. You've had their back. We got your back.
That's right. You mess with one, you mess with us all.
Rated E for everyone. That is my favorite line you've said on the pod so far.
You've never heard me say that to you before?
I don't think so. I mean, what a way to sandwich the pod. Like, I get the picture last night of you hobby horsing and rated E for everyone with the dogs. The dogs are ready to go.
I am. Let me just say, you know what? In the words of the immortal Forrest Gump, I am like a box of chocolates, because you never know what you gonna get.
There's no truer statement ever spoken on our pod.
So on that note, I think it's time to pull this train on into the station, so I can stop being a little spicy. Woo woo. What do we have going on next week?
We got. I'm sure we're going to talk about more Cavs wins, and we're definitely going to do a free agency primer. Get everybody ready for free agency, what starts in 2 weeks. You're going to start hearing rumors all over the NFL this week. Yeah, it's free agency time. It's flying by.
Silly season. Yeah.
Before we know it, the draft's going to be here. But we'll have a better idea who the Browns quarterback is going to be after next week. We should, by the end of next week, should know who that veteran quarterback is going to be. We're going to see the Browns have some money to spend. They're not going to. Don't pay attention to their like negative 40 something in the cap. Don't pay attention. They have money to spend. They're going to spend money. Once again, credit where credit due. Andrew Berry's really good at managing the cap, and he's going to be able to. And he said there was no limitations to what he could do in free agency, and I believe him.
They just raised the cap too. So I mean, that's an astronomical amount.
Yeah, it went up. It was supposed to go up like, I want to say like 20 million, and ended up going like 26 million. So that just helps the Browns out, and that's the gamble the Browns make by they continue to kick the can down the road with their contracts. But we'll talk free agency. We'll see what the Browns are going to do, what other teams are going to do. Maybe we'll have some more answers of where Miles is going to end up, or he's going to stay at Brown, or go elsewhere, because that trade
next week.
If he gets traded, it's got to happen soon. It's got to happen before the draft. I don't think it's going to be like one of those last second draft deals. I think it's going to be something. If it's going to actually happen, it's going to happen sooner than later. But like I said, I'm not convinced now. It's going to happen. I'm really not. But,
well, we shall have to see.
I've been wrong once before, so I could be wrong twice. Who knows?
Well, we shall see what the Cleveland sports world tends to throw us tomorrow, because it tends to be. I've noticed. We record on Sundays, and Monday and Tuesday we get. I'm like, all right. Well, I guess I got show prep to do. Okay, all right. It's always Monday.
The last 6 weeks, it's been something. The last 6 weeks has been something. Coaching changes, trade demands. Yeah, it's been something. So.
Deaths.
So anyway,
on that note, from the dog pound to the shoe and all the spiciness in between, I'm BB.
And I'm DC.
And this has been the I-71 Playbook Podcast.
Like and subscribe.